shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there. Some little bride to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon. Desensitized in our lust for attention. Democratized by our voyeur obsessions. Watching you and watching me. Standing polarized. Everyone's got an electric eye. We're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3,
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in at spacedoutradio.com and on Spreaker. As once again we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we do this thing 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. We always want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the paranormal, supernatural, spiritual, ufological, and so much more. Hey, if you like our music, go to our website, spacedoutradio.com. Click on the Bumblefoot banner. All of our music is provided by the guitar god himself, Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Little Brother is Watching. That album can be found on our website, spacedoutradio.com. If you're a social media junkie like I am, give us a follow on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. You can subscribe to that. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, as we do every night, we want to welcome in our fans listening in on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, on Facebook at Euphoria Chronicles and the SOR Space Travelers, as well as Paranormal Forum. If you're a fan of Spaced Out Radio, we're working on this diligently. Coming soon to our website is the Space Travelers membership, where for only $5 a month, just $5, you can register to win prizes, take part in private group interviews, a special section on our website, monthly newsletter, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or to distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The new Agora newspaper, 80,000 people a month read that paper. And the iPhone app, Spirit Storybox. It's the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are sticking with the paranormal as we have the last couple of nights on this show. This time it's a couple of members from the Chronicles of the Unknown team, a budding television show here in Canada. Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin are here from the team. That includes Derek White Skycloud, who will be with us in hour number 2, as well as Troy Ryan. Every month, 2 members from Chronicles joins us for some lively and honest paranormal chatter. There's so much angst and drama in the field of ghost hunting, it's really hard to find a good crew to chat about all aspects of the field and get an honest answer. Tonight we are going to nail off a couple of topics over the next 3 hours with Glenn and Mike and soon to be Derek. And of course there will be time for your questions as well. Tonight we are going to learn about how technical ghost hunting has become. Is it really necessary? Do we really need laser grids and infrared cameras to prove ghosts exist? The other part we are going to delve into is the etiquette that seems to lack when it comes to ghost hunting and all of these paranormal teams. Think about it. In the United States alone, there is 36,000, not 100, 36,000 registered paranormal investigative teams in the United States. And you know what? It's not fun for a lot of these teams. And you think shopping on Black Friday was competitive, man, this takes the cake. We're going to hit Glenn and Mike up about why the art and the fun of paranormal investigation has become almost like a combat sport. And then people wonder why the paranormal field isn't taken very seriously in the mainstream. We bring in Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin from Chronicles of the Unknown. Gentlemen, good to have you with us. How are you?
Good, Dave. You?
Living the dream.
Well, Mike, good to see you're full of piss and vinegar tonight. That's the way we like to start things off. Always a pleasure, guys, to have you on the show. And the reason why I love having you guys on, not only are you friends, but you guys have really shown me the ropes of paranormal. You've kind of taken me under this wing. I was separate from the show, and you were separate in doing the Canadian Paranormal Research Society, pardon me, I know I screwed that. The Canadian Paranormal Society, I apologize. Okay, and then we kind of came together here over the last number of months. It's been a lot of fun now, hasn't it, Glenn?
It's been interesting, like to tie up you guys and actually see part of your country where you're actually from.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of hauntings up here. This is old, man. This is old up here.
It's very old.
Do you guys remember how we got together?
It was a long time ago. I was actually talking about UFOs. Actually, I interviewed you for a dark screen background. Where I had to blank you out because you didn't want to be known at that time. It was when Bill Connolly was here, actually.
And you know what? The way things have sprouted out with Chronicles of the Unknown and the way things have taken off, Mike, are you surprised with how quickly this has all happened?
Yeah, we've gone pretty hard and fast with this, and we're going to keep going. We have 5 or 6 more investigations lined up over the next 4 months. Locations I cannot share, except for this Saturday. We're going to be up in Merritt doing a fundraiser at the Bailey House.
Yes,
and we'll also be filming an episode there.
Wonderful. Now, one of the things that I like that Chronicles have done, and guys, I'm going to just remind you guys, a lot of our listeners are in the United States, so they don't know where Merritt is, or they don't know where Langley is, or 100 Mile House, or Quesnel, so we're really going to have to break that down for them. And Merritt is in kind of the bottom center of the province. It's an old town. It's well over 120 years old. It was almost like a stopping station before you climbed over the mountains to get to the west coast. Tell us a little bit, Mike, about the Bailey House and what is there.
I think, Glenn, you've researched a little bit more on that one. I kind of just... You go for that one.
3 or 4 families that lived in that location. There was a little bit of death there.
Where's Jeff when we need him?
Yeah, Jeff would be the person to speak to about this. He's been organizing our events for us, pretty much covering as kind of our case manager. Jeff would be the ideal person to speak about this thing, which is he's not here.
Well, we'll blame Jeff. He's on Alberta time, so...
Yes, he is.
You can never trust them Albertans, especially when they are in behind the wheel of a Winnebago. That's just dangerous, dangerous times if you're on the road. But with the Bailey House, have you investigated there before?
Never.
No, this is new to both of us, actually.
What makes it so special?
A lot of claims from the local community who have actually said that this place is definitely active. Everything from footsteps, people being touched and shoved. There's also a whole bunch of stuff going on with audio in the location. Hoping to touch on that when we get into the spot itself.
Do you enjoy the fact of going to all these different locations, Mike? Because for a lot of paranormal teams, they go to the same places all over again. And I'm going to get into the etiquette side a little bit later in the show. But for you guys seem to try and wander out and find where nobody else has gone. How much more fun does that make this?
Oh, it's fantastic. When we first started doing the Chronicles project, a personal goal for me, because I started out as case manager. Jeff's been helping me with that. He's been doing awesome with it. But our goal is to go to locations that people have not gone before, where there have been claims. That way, it'll be a fresh slate, and we'll be able to,
Do you find, Glenn, when you go to a new location that it's different than, say, investigating where, say, dozens of different paranormal teams have investigated already? Is there a difference in what you get with the spirits?
Yeah, well, like Mike said, it's one of those cases where we go into a location which has never been done before. And we're not expecting anything. We're not looking for any precursors that any other team has done before. It's just kind of a case where we're expecting something different. And that has been pretty much the case with every location we've done for the last year and a half.
We're going in with no preconceived notions.
There you go.
No, and I can understand that, and I can appreciate that when you go in with no preconceived notions, Mike. But I guess what I'm saying is, when you go into a fresh virgin territory, compared to, say, let's say a mental institution or a former prison or a graveyard that's said to be haunted, and everyone and their dog has investigated those claims, do you find that the spirits are more active if you're one of the first few groups in there, if not the first?
No, I think it's a crapshoot. Day one, they could be active. Day two,
They can shoot
be
you down.
silent. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't control that aspect. No matter what we try to do, how we do it, it's up to spirits if they want to communicate.
No, and I understand that, and I can appreciate that. I guess what I'm trying to find out here is it more difficult than going to a place where, say, the spirits are used to people being there and chatting with them, compared to spirits who are on connected to a place where they're not used to seeing human beings and trying to connect with them. They're not used to seeing the technology because they can see what we're doing.
That's true. Yeah. Glenn, you want that one?
It's kind of a crapshoot. Like, you can look at places like Waverly Hills in Kentucky, which has been done to death. And I know all the guys that have been through that place, and everyone has claims. But we have places here in BC which have not been done yet, like Riverview Hospital, the original hospital for the insane, is still here and still available to investigate, but no one really wants to do it.
Why is that?
I'm not quite sure whether it's kind of tying with the history and how much it caused harm to people, or whether they just want to forget that particular part of our history.
Why do you think BC, Glenn, is so untapped when it comes to the paranormal field and investigations?
A lot of it comes down to the harm we did to the First Nations people. And that's been pushed off to the side a lot when it comes to political reasoning. But I think it should be out there right now that we do have that kind of history where we did kind of pick on those people at that time.
British Columbia is such a vast expanse of a province where, if people are wondering how big British Columbia is, it's about the size of Alaska. Maybe a little bit smaller. It's bigger than Texas. You could pretty much wrap up California, Oregon, Washington State, and probably throw Idaho in there as well in order to grasp the entire size of the Canadian province on the West Coast. And when you're driving around British Columbia, you have to realize you have the gold rush that happened from California, went up straight to the Yukon and Alaska. That had to go through British Columbia. You have the migration into the territory because British Columbia is a resource province with oil in the north and the lumber all around and trees everywhere. So it's a very resource-based province. And in between all of these roads and highways and byways are all of these little communities. Some of them have turned into ghost towns, but they're so remote that people just don't go there anymore. And they may still have residences because British Columbia does have a lot of towns, such as the one I live in, where it's under 2,000 people. There's towns here that are under 1,000 people. So when you look at these towns and they haven't changed in maybe 60, 80, 100 years, you're really, Glenn, sitting on a gold mine, lack of a better term, of paranormal, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
So how do you push that forward in order to try and encapsulate each and every story that is out there? Because even most Canadians and British Columbians in general don't really know the history.
I think what we're doing right now with Chronicles of the Unknown to actually introduce people to the history of British Columbia. To start with, we're actually planning on heading across country at some point. But right now, to actually show what we have here in BC is amazing. Like, we just investigated a location in British Columbia over the last few days as part of TCPS, or the Canadian Paranormal Society, which we can't mention the location, obviously, because it was kind of secretive. But to get into that location and spend half the night there was amazing, the amount of evidence we got.
Mike, when Glenn says evidence, What kind of evidence are you looking for? Because for a lot of people out there, they think, or a lot of these paranormal groups, they think, great, we captured a ghost. Is it just about capturing the voice or film or picture of a ghost, or is it more?
For me, audio is my choice. I enjoy EVPs. I find video difficult if you catch something on video, like example, an orb. I don't think you can use that as audible evidence. You need something more in the form of like an entity. That's just my preference with that. I think it all comes down to I don't have the gifts of like mediums and people like that. So for me, I need the hard evidence via an EVP or a video.
But is it more than just trying to prove, Mike, that a place is haunted? Is it trying to get a story out of the spirits? Is it trying to encapsulate what happened in regards to their lives, why they're still around?
Absolutely. We'll do history, and we will try and find events that happened throughout the years via like a murder or suicide or any sort of trauma that's happened at a location. And we will try to talk about that with a spirit that's there and see if we can help them, if we can get some answers, if we can hear their side of the story. Because we always, whenever we do EVP sessions, we always ask if there's a story they'd like to tell us, if there's anything they'd like to tell us. So yeah, I do think that there's always more to it.
Is that the fun part right there, is trying to tell that extended story from the spirit side? Glenn?
Yeah. Well, what we've been doing lately is actually trying to get back to the locations that have been giving us this opportunity to investigate. So we can put up for one day and invite maybe a dozen people to investigate with us. That makes a big difference to how we perceive the actual story of the location. Like we're looking at the Bailey House right now. We have 3 or 4 generations that a family that went through there, and there was some tragedy there. Yeah, but I'm pretty much guaranteed that we'll have a good time, even with the public showing up as well.
We are talking with Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin from Chronicles of the Unknown tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and we are talking paranormal chat. We're going to get more into the technical side at the bottom of the hour as we wait for our listeners to trickle on in and get everybody set up, comfortable. And in the second hour, Derek White, Sky Cloud, should join us as well to make this a trio of interviews, as we'll take you right till midnight Pacific time on this, 3 a.m. Eastern time. Now, Mike, what gets you so interested in the paranormal? Was it an experience as a kid? Was it something that just was an itch you needed to scratch? What got you into this?
For me, it's been since I was a kid. I've always had odd experiences here and there growing up. I also have an investigative nature where I need to know and find answers out, and I find the paranormal field challenges you with that. How deep can you dig to get the answer you're looking for, or reaction from the other side?
Do you remember your first paranormal experience?
I can remember the first one I had that made me be like, oh, I want to look into this stuff. I was in Winnipeg, actually, at my cousin's heritage house. And how old was I? 14, 15. And I was sleeping on the main floor. It was one of those old, like 1800s 3-story houses. Anyhow, in a nutshell, say around the typical 3 a.m. time, I started to hear loud footsteps coming up the stairs. The kitchen door would swing open. Then I'd hear these loud boots all over the kitchen floor, and it would go back downstairs. I looked to see what it was. There was nothing. And it did that all night. I even watched the doors swing open and close. That kind of scared me, and I wanted more.
So it was the thrill of the fear.
Absolutely.
That really pushed you to that. Glenn, we already know about you and your experiences from the last time you were on the show, so I just want to focus on Mike here for a couple of minutes. How old were you, Mike, when you had your first sighting of a ghost?
I'd say 9 or 10. I was at home sick, and I saw a man come up the stairs, and I freaked out, called my neighbor. My neighbor came over, and a little old lady with pepper spray. And we cleared the house. Nothing. And ever so often, I would see that man come up the stairs. Then I just learned to ignore it, and it stopped. That would be my first experience that I can remember.
What did he look like?
Pretty grubby. Kind of short, stocky, beard, construction worker clothes. There was a rumor that a construction worker died on my property. I cannot confirm that. I would like to look into that more. So maybe that was that.
It never really escapes you, that first paranormal experience, does it, Glenn?
No. And it's one of those things that sticks in your mind. It kind of catches you off guard sometimes. Like to actually meet my recently deceased aunt in the kitchen. And as soon as I opened the door, the light went off. I knew she was in there. She was making a pot of tea. I'm like, okay, that's my aunt. And that freaked me out. That was probably the worst situation ever for me. Even though I'd had them actually sit on the end of my bed and chat with me during the night. I may have maybe my deceased cat hang around at the bottom of my bed, and so we would kind of snuggle type stuff. But yeah, that's probably the worst I can probably imagine.
When you look at the way the paranormal field is, and you look at some of the experiences people have, Glenn, I'm going to draw on your experience here for a couple of moments here.
Okay.
Are people naturally frightened by this, in your opinion, or is it more startling to them and then trying to figure out what really it is that they saw?
I think it's more startling. Like we've worked with a whole bunch of people over the last couple of months on kind of like fundraising type events, and the way they actually perceive what's happening to them is kind of interesting from a actual professional point of view, where we look at those guys and say, wow, how did they get that experience? And it was actually good for us for that one night where we had the public in there. The next night, we didn't get as much, which is kind of odd.
I'll chime in. I find when we do these public investigations, seeing the thrill that people get from doing this reminds us why we started doing it initially.
That's right.
Because guaranteed, every time we do a public investigation, there's half the people there want to join us the next time. And half the people will join our Facebook group, and they'll be keeping an eye out for when we're going to be back to wherever we had the fundraiser. Example, the Sicamous, we did a fundraiser there. And it's a big paddle wheel boat in Penticton, which is north of Vancouver to the Americans. And everyone had such a good time there. And the curator wants us back to do one at Halloween. And I think all the people that were there when we were there a month ago are pretty much already chomping at the bit to get
to
back.
come back, yeah.
And the more you get the public involved, the more it really takes the fear out of the paranormal, doesn't it, Glenn?
Oh, Glenn, you go.
Yeah, yes, it does. It makes a big difference. Like when they come in there, they're all kind of geared up, expecting to see a whole bunch of stuff. And when they realize how much it takes to actually record and document our evidence, it kind of loses some of its luster. But at the same time, we do have a good time with the general public.
I fully agree. Gentlemen, we're going to hop out for our break here in the first half hour. We are talking with Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin from Chronicles of the Unknown, a television show here in Canada that's just starting out. They are our monthly paranormal experts. They come on the third Monday of every month to talk a little paranormal with us. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this break.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is Elizabeth Anglin, and on the last Monday of every month, I join Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's Cosmic Passport. We delve into everything from extraterrestrial contact to animal communication. It's a lot of fun, and every month it's something different and exciting. I would love it if you would join us. You can hear and learn from my experiences, and I'd like to know about yours as well. Cosmic Passport on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Hope you all had a good Monday. Monday is over. We get to relax, and it's cruising through the rest of the week. Tomorrow night on the show, UFO Cop's Butch Witkowski will make his third appearance on Spaced Out Radio. I love Butch when he comes on. He is so knowledgeable when it comes to UFOs, Dogman, werewolves, Bigfoot. It's unbelievable. We're going to hit it all tomorrow night with Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop. Anyways, if you want to follow us on social media, you can follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. You can subscribe to that. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking paranormal with the gentlemen from Chronicles of the Unknown. Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin are with us. 2 of the 4 members of the team. Derek White, Sky Cloud, should be joining us at the top of the hour, of course. And then there is Troy Ryan, who is taking a night off. They do this show, Chronicles of the Unknown, with Spaced Out Radio on the 3rd Monday of every month. Glenn and Mike, thank you for doing this tonight.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
It's always a pleasure to be able to talk paranormal with you guys because, I'll be honest with you, it's probably one of those fields that I don't get into a lot because there seems to be a lot of tension and a lot of, how would you put it? A lot of drama, exactly, in what we are going through paranormally. There are so many different groups. It's become competitive, as I've said in the introduction, that it's almost like a Black Friday sale at any of these paranormal hotspots. Mike, I want to talk with you a little bit on this in regards to the etiquette. I want to get into that first and foremost before we get into the technology.
All right.
Why has the paranormal field, in your opinion, become so dramatic?
Because all the cool kids are doing it. And everyone wants to do it.
Well, there has to be a little bit more than that to it, Mike. I mean, it's one of those things, Mike, where we see a lot of drama in there. It doesn't matter on what side of the border, what country you're in. It just seems to be overly competitive. Why do you feel that is?
I think it's a greed thing in a way where people like to. I was trying to think of an example how to use. I don't know how to say it.
It's almost like owning a location.
It's like owning a location with street cred. I own this place, so you can't go here, sort of thing. But with the Canadian Paranormal Society and even Chronicles of the Unknown, we're okay with sharing. It's an okay thing to do because it's good to see what other groups can come up with. I don't like the whole turf war drama crap. It's better to work.
Annoying.
It is. It's better just for everyone to work together, in my opinion. Sometimes you can get a little snippy, but big picture aspect, it's okay.
No,
I don't know how.
And I could understand and appreciate that. But if you look online, and let's take social media here for a few moments, and let's talk about this. When you're in this field, you obviously befriend, say on Facebook, other paranormal groups from around the world, let alone Canada and the United States. You try and trade information and see what they are doing. And then you see all of a sudden the ballistic hatred that almost comes out between these different paranormal groups. Should it really be that way, Glenn?
You have to kind of get past that. And there's a point where it becomes unbearable to try and share information because people just don't want to share anything. Which is sad. Look at how small our community is up here in Canada, especially. To not be able to share the information on those locations.
But why can't you share? What is the ego involved? That's what I'm trying to get at here. Glenn, maybe I'll go with you on this one.
I'm not quite sure where the ego comes from.
Glenn, the ego.
It's not like we get paid to do this thing. No, so we're looking at it's a freebie, part-time pastime, basically. For most of us, even though most of us have had some really interesting experiences over the years. But at the same point, when do you stop bickering and badgering with other groups?
What do you think then, Glenn, and I'm going on your 30-plus years of experience in investigating here, do you think causes all of this drama and this lack of etiquette? Because I have heard that there are certain teams out there that are actually trying to block other teams from going into locations. Now, to me, that doesn't sound right at all. I mean, there's no competitive edge here. You're not winning money for this. You're not making money. You're not very few people actually have a television show, and you're one of the few in Canada who actually has a television branding going along with it. But for the most people who are investigating, this is a hobby. This is maybe trying to answer their own questions to life after life. Yet we hear of these groups who are trying to block other groups from areas. They're trying to undercut other groups. They're trying to steal information. I don't understand this entire process of how this has become so bloody Walmart.
Yeah, I can pretty much get where you're coming from right here with that kind of statement. But it is that way within Canada right now, where there's not much collaboration between teams. We seem to have a better relationship with teams down in the States because they're established already than we do with our own home groups.
Mike, what's your take on that?
Repeat it. Word it differently for me.
I guess what I'm trying to say here, Mike, is there are so many teams out there trying to vie for who's the better, who's getting the better information, who's using what gear, who's investigating what have you found. It's become very egocentric. And when you get these groups out there that are trying to block other groups from investigating territories and trying to say we're the best and have a real ego about it, that's the concern that I have within the paranormal. So I'm wondering what your take on that is.
I try and stay out of that stuff, to be straight up honest with you. I feel I don't have an ego, and if I thought I did, I would try and keep that in check. I'm all for sharing, but when people are like, no, that is mine, I don't see your name on the title if it says Province of Canada or Historic Site. You know what I'm saying with that? I think it's a power trip. It's a power thing, man.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, why else would you be like that? I'm a pretty laid-back guy where if you want to go investigate that house I was just at, have at it.
Glenn, I want to lean on your experience here for a second. When did you see a real shift in the whole ego and the power trip that is now really enveloping the paranormal industry?
I think it was pretty much end of season 8 with Ghost Hunters, where everyone started to get in check with that kind of stuff. Now everyone wants to be Taps, or everyone wants to be Ghost Adventures crew, whatever. It seemed that once they got to that point where they will actually have some sort of name behind them, like Taps, that the ego started to kind of filter out.
Do you think there's too many weekend warriors in this field, Glenn?
Oh, it's one of those fields that anyone can get into. So it's not really a kind of a weekend warrior thing. Either you have the guts to go ahead and do it, or you don't. And with the majority of the people that we work with in the past, there's also an eagerness because they've actually seen a whole bunch of television shows and they know how to do their investigations, blah, blah, blah. Know how to do EVPs, EMF readings, whatever. But, I kind of find that with TV, it has made a difference on how we are perceived as investigators.
I'll chime in for a second. I'm going to use the Canadian Paranormal Society as an example. We kind of just rebooted this past month, restructured the whole group. And one thing we're trying to do as a team is reach out to different groups in the States, on the island, different provinces in Canada, where we all want to be on the same board, where maybe we all want to have round tables, where we all want to help each other, give each other ideas, bounce things off everyone. I'm trying to eliminate the ego in competition.
Yeah.
And that is tough to do because
I got this.
Yeah. I mean, that is tough to do. But Mike, what should then be the goal of the paranormal? Because we see so many people who are just there for the evidence. We see people actually out there trying to help other people who are going through, say, hauntings in their houses or in their workplaces. Then we have the crowd that is all about the demonic, because everything these days seems to be a demon, and demonologists have popped up, quicker than popcorn at a movie theater in the paranormal field. So what should be the goal of the paranormal field?
Yeah, that's all dependent. If you're doing a residential house where people are scared shitless, your goal is to help them and get them at ease. Be it with cleansing, reviewing, evidence presentation, etc. That's my 2 cents with that.
Glenn,
I think it's. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
It's all situational based with the end goal. I'm not going to repeat myself about. For me, it's helping. That's number one. Helping people.
Is it helping people the goal, or is it too much like this, Glenn, where we see too many people trying to help themselves because they think, hey, if I can get good at this, I might be able to get that television pilot, I might be able to become an internet sensation on YouTube, or I might be able to get a book deal out of it?
It's hard to say. Like, a lot of the clients we've had lately, we just had a lady in New West who we helped out. She had a real tough go of it. Her name's Amanda. I want to mention her last name just due to privacy for the client. But she has something going on, and we ended up dealing with it. And hopefully she's looking a lot better than she did before we got there.
What's happening in her house right now?
It seems to be quite stable right now. I haven't spoke to her in the last couple of days, but she's very appreciative of us coming in and taking care of the problem.
Can you go into detail of what kind of entities are in there right now? Or what you're dealing with?
Mike?
The client was getting touched, scratched, mood changes, depression, that sort of stuff that was going on. And we had Derek do a very thorough... Derek and Glenn. Glenn usually doesn't pull out the... Well, Glenn, what do you call your cleanse that you do? I always do the Aboriginal thing with the sage and everything, because that's my roots. So we had Derek actually do really, really thorough smudge and blessing. And Glenn, you even did the holy water and the prayers.
That seems very, very interesting, guys, because when someone is getting scratched or pushed or tripped or whatever it is, or having almost like poltergeist activity in their house, what causes that to happen, Glenn?
A lot of it could be the client themselves. Depends on their state of mind. We find that a lot of people who have mental issues really attract that kind of activity.
Is that hard to judge? Do you have to sit down with the client firsthand just to make sure they are mentally stable before going into their house and seeing if this is actually real paranormal activity?
It's one of those things you can't really judge because you don't know. You're not in their shoes. So you can't really say maybe it's something mental that's going on, or maybe it's something that's actually going on. So just step back and take a look at the situation and find out where they are actually coming from. Makes a big difference to us.
And Mike, when you go into someone's residential home like Amanda's, what are you looking for first and foremost as tall tale signs that there might be activity happening there?
First of all, sweep. There's a lot of, from what I recall, maybe Glenn, you could dive into it a little deeper. There's a lot of EMF. And they say that can alter the way people are. What do we look for? That's what we look for. We go through readings with our K2s, which you're going to want to talk about gear later. Glenn's going to go into gear. We'll sweep with Mel meters. We'll be looking for the EMF and quote-unquote EMF hotspots. And then we'll actually sit down with the clients and ask what's been happening, where it's been happening. And we have Derek, a medium, who will go through as well.
So when you're sitting down with a client, Mike, what kind of questions are you asking just to make sure that you're getting the full effect of what is happening in their house?
How long has the hauntings or whatever been happening? Do you dabble with witchcraft? Have you ever dabbled with a Ouija board? When was the last time you were at a graveyard? All that sort of stuff. Tons of questions, man. You gotta ask. You gotta be very thorough. We have a little questionnaire we make people fill out as well. That's like 50 questions.
So in those 50 questions, what do you hope to gain from that information?
Evidence, investigation, continuity.
A little bit of base knowledge.
Okay. So when you're getting the base knowledge in regards to whoever you are dealing with, is it almost like building a psychological profile of the person where you guys then have to analyze those answers to see if you're dealing with someone who is sane and having these experiences compared to, say, someone who is mentally unstable, to put it politely, and maybe a little bit deranged and causing self-harm?
Yes. It's a basic response to that would be yes. We do look into the history of the actual client as well as the location.
We are talking with Chronicles of the Unknown tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin are joining us tonight from the team. We'll be joined by Derek White, Sky Cloud, at the top of the hour. I do have a couple of questions from the SOR Space Travelers for you guys tonight. We'll start off with Galen's question, and we'll start with you, Glenn. What's the scariest encounter you've ever had?
Oh, scariest? Being locked in the Vancouver morgue fridge for half an hour. That was interesting for me. I got told to get the fuck out by something that was in there, which was kind of odd. It was picked up on APP. And I ended up face planting the fridge above me when one of my guys grabbed my leg to wake me up. That would be my scariest event.
So this entity actually knocked you out?
It was middle of summer. It was like July, and there was no air conditioning in the morgue during that time of year. So I just fell asleep because it was hot.
And Mike, how about yourself? What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? Is Mike still with us?
He should be. We'll see him online.
I had the mute on because you yell at me when I touch my keyboard.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Scariest moment for me would be, off the top of my head, one of the first Chronicles location we filmed at. We went one of the outbuildings, and something locked the door on me, and I felt severe dread and fear. I normally don't get like that. And I couldn't open the door, but I could see Glenn and Derek outside saying, "Mike, come outside, come outside." But I couldn't because the door... But then I heard the door unlock, like somebody had to manually unlock it with like those old-fashioned skeleton keys. Then it opened. That was pretty scary to me.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So did you almost have a feeling of panic, like this thing was trying to keep you in there? And, you know, it's almost like drowning, it would seem to me, like that feeling that you're being stuck somewhere, like automatic claustrophobia.
I like to be in control at all times, and when I feel like I'm not in control, that starts to make things change in my head. So yes, I did not enjoy that.
And he is a control freak.
Well, he does have nice hair. We can at least say that.
Yeah, we'll get that.
All right. Same type of question coming from Amanda, but a little bit different. Glenn, what scares you about what you do? What are you most fearful of?
Having an attachment, bringing something back home with me after an investigation. I do my best to cleanse myself after every investigation. But there's always that possibility that you may bring something home with you, which will mess you up.
And how about you, Mike? What would really scare you about being in this field?
having something legitimately harm me. Attachments as well. Like if something actually hurting me physically would probably rattle me pretty good. And yeah, attachments, man, because sometimes they're hard to shake. When Glenn and I got back from Quesnel, we weren't ourselves for a good 2 weeks. Even Derek was a little concerned.
Did you feel you brought something back?
That might have been,
yeah,
or it might have been the residual energy.
That place was kind of insane.
Now, we're talking about the Quesnel Museum here in central British Columbia, where there was a haunted doll named Mandy in a glass case, and Glenn, you got pretty much, I don't know, put under by this doll in a trance, and it was very scary for you. I know we've talked about this a couple of times on this show, and we don't need to go into full detail about it, but is that the experience you're talking about?
Yeah, but I'm not quite sure whether it was Mandy, the doll, who was actually the problem, or whether it was something attached to the doll. And that's where I'm having the issue right now, because we had that thing with the soldier in the back room, if you remember that, because you were there. And I'm not quite sure whether it was him or whether it was just the doll itself.
Well, when I went with you on that investigation, the night before we actually did the live show from the Quesnel Museum where Mandy the doll was, I remember I was investigating with my booking coordinator, Corey. She had come with us for the ride, and we were hanging out, and in the back part of the museum, they have a military section of World War I, World War II, Korean War memorabilia. And they have this mannequin there who is dressed in periodic army clothing. Very thick, very cotton. I wouldn't want to wear it back in the day. That's just sweating for no reason. But I remember when I was back there alone, and I was looking, because I'm a military buff, and Glenn, you're a veteran, as are many of our listeners, and you guys were over by the doll setting up all the cameras, and you were doing your sweep with Derek, and I didn't want to cause any noise, so I kind of meandered off on my own. And as I'm looking at this military memorabilia, right beside it, they had this giant patch quilt, about a 15-foot patch quilt by 10 feet. It was gorgeous, handmade. It was about telling a story on the community. And as I'm looking at this patch quilt on the wall, I swear that mannequin leaned out to look at me. Yeah. And when I turned back and looked, it was standing right still. And I literally jumped out of my shoes, man, because I swear that mannequin leaned out to look at me. That just freaked the living daylights out of me.
There was some serious energy right there with that mannequin.
It was weird. Because it was wearing a World War I combined with a World War II outfit, was it not?
Yes, it was. Although the uniform was not correct, which is one of the reasons why I kind of upset that person who was wearing that uniform.
Do you think that they knew that the uniform was incorrect?
I'm pretty sure they did, but they weren't really looking at it. It was a combination of a World War I and World War II outfit for the same unit, which would be incorrect during this time. But the time period that they were setting up for was World War II, so the beret was not correct.
On that note, gentlemen, we are going to hop out for our break at the top of the hour. Maybe we'll get Derek White, Sky Cloud, to join us as well. More of your questions in the SOR Space Travelers room and in the SOR chat room on Spreaker. We are talking with Glenn Ferguson and Mike Morin tonight on Spaced Out Radio. They are part of the team of Chronicles of the Unknown, a television show up here in Canada dealing with the paranormal, telling the British Columbia story of all the hauntings that are hidden around our gem of a province. And think about it. Most of these sites that they've gone to have never been investigated once. For you paranormal people out there, that's pretty impressive. That's what you try and find. That's where you want to go. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right around the corner.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantis, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mullet, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and you are listening to the mighty SOR as we are talking with Chronicles of the Unknown tonight. In a moment, we're going to bring in Derek White, Sky Cloud, to join Glenn Ferguson and Mike Moore, and you'll hear a little bit of a ringtone as we connect up with him in regards to it. But first, tomorrow night on the show, Butch Witkowski from UFOcop.com is going to join us. He is the investigator of all investigators, in my opinion. He specializes in Dogman. He specializes in werewolf sightings, Bigfoot, UFOs, ET abductions, alien and cattle and human mutilations. It's incredible. Just incredible what is going on here in regards to what Bruce Butch will bring to the table in regards to it. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to just tell you guys in regards to what is going on in the show on social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. That's where we put our archives. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are joined by members of Chronicles of the Unknown, Glenn Ferguson, Mike Morin, and we're going to just try and hook up with Derek White Sky Cloud here. I'm not sure if Derek is in or not as of yet. Derek, are you with us as well? I think we're still trying to hook up with Derek. But Glenn and Mike are here as we try to get a hold of Derek as well. Now,
he's on Derek time.
Yes, he is on Derek time. Derek is the psychic medium of the group. And let's start off with that as we wait for Derek here to join the conversation. What is the importance, do you believe, Mike, in having a true psychic medium as part of a paranormal team?
It's kind of like a hunting dog. You could use that as an example. They hone in on certain areas and communicate with the other side. Where, exactly. Oh, there he is. And that way, us non-hunting dogs can go in with our tools and see what we can find that way.
Now, Glenn, when you add in the psychic medium in regards to the investigation, and you see all of these groups out there that are saying, well, we're not going to have a medium come in, we're not going to have someone taint our investigation, this is scientific, we need to get to the scientific side of everything, and a medium just ruins that. What is your opinion when you hear that attitude?
For me, that's one of those things. Well, a medium for me is a tool. He's a tool in my belt, someone who can direct us into a location where we need to meet.
Are you calling Derek a tool?
Yeah, he is a tool.
I'm a useful tool.
Yeah, there you go. It's true, though. He can actually put us in the right location to start investigating. If he says something's going on in this area, then we'll focus all our equipment on that area and see if there's any real EMF going on in there.
Derek White Sky Cloud joins us with the Chronicles of the Unknown team as well. Derek, I want to get your opinion on this in regards to being the psychic medium of the group. Now, when you go in, you don't know a thing about the investigation. Why do you go in absolutely cold?
Well, I'm not that cold. But when I go in, I don't like the guys to tell me what's going on. If they do tell me, I try not to even to believe everything they tell me, because everybody has a sense of what they feel is there at the present. One of the biggest experiments that most people have done that test mediums is that they'll actually take a house and or even a room of some sort, and they'll build it up, make it look like a really old, and then get someone to come in there and pretend to say, well, we're going to tell you the history of this place is really haunted, and then you get these psychics or mediums who walk in the door, and whether they believe it or not, the story, you have to be very open to the idea of thinking, okay, if I'm going to go in there, I'm making sure that I voice what I feel, not what they tell you, because if you believe everything someone tells you, then you're not going to have a story. You can't really tell if it's really happening, because there are some places that may have one time been haunted, but once it's been cleared up, it's not haunted anymore. But it may be haunted once, but not anymore. I mean, and Glenn knows a lot of the histories of some of these places that were haunted previously before, years ago, even in the States. But they've had so many priests come through and bless the places, and then these people that watch these movies or shows or whatever have you, and they go back and they say, well, I don't see nothing here, I don't feel nothing here, because it's been cleaned. A lot of it is not actually always clean, and sometimes they're always cleaned up. So, you just have to make an opinion of your own. And myself, when I walk in, I have to feel what feels right.
Jeff Dwyer, who I had on the show on Thursday night of last week, he was saying that, because he's a psychic medium as well, And he was saying when he goes into an investigation, he likes to know a little bit about what's going on because he feels it's easier for him to connect to the spirits on the other side to give them some sort of cushion that they know that even though he's communicating with them, that he has their best interests at heart. Derek, do you agree with that opinion?
I don't agree because it's one of the biggest mistakes that most psychic mediums make. I mean, this is why we're tested for a reason. I rather not the guys. I mean, that's why I love about these guys and my team members because they don't tell me anything. I go in there and I tell you what I feel. That's why we're there. I'm like what you call the living version of a K2 meter. Or a living version of, just one of the machines that I'm just there. Like the boy said earlier, I'm the tool. I'm going to tell you what I get. And if I don't get something, I don't get something. I mean, that's what we've dealt with in years before. Other TV shows, some other people will tell other people, oh, no, just tell them it's actually haunted. No, you got to tell the truth. If you got nothing, maybe not meant for you. Maybe another psychic can walk in the door and say, I got something here, but how come Derek didn't get something? Well, because maybe it wasn't meant for me to even feel it.
I have a question from Gail in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, and this is for Mike and Glenn, and we'll start with you, Mike, on this one. When we were talking about the competition in the paranormal industry, she's asking, what are the groups actually competing for?
Competing for turf, really, and control. Paranormal turf. I want to go investigate this 7-Eleven. I just investigated this 7-Eleven, so nobody else can. Type thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't really do a 7-Eleven, but that's just... Yeah.
It's haunted.
Yeah.
Glenn, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, pretty much the same as Mike. It's a turf thing.
Bragging rights. I got a message
It's,
from Jeff.
maybe it's my location. You can't get into it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, and it's just a little annoying in a way, but at the same time, you just have to bear and grin and smile about it because we're not getting paid to do this shit.
Galen is asking from any one of you three. Derek, we'll start with you. Have you ever had any boogeyman type encounters?
Oh yeah, I've had my share when I was a kid. My sister had a haunted doll. My first experience when I was 10 years old, so I know what it felt like to be scared. I didn't know what it was, what's so important about this doll, but it sure scared the living hell out of me. And I tried everything I could in my own 10-year-old power is having to hide it. So in the daytime, I'd hide it in a drawer somewhere, and then my sister would find it, or at least I thought she was. And then next thing you know, it's sitting on top of the dresser. And so I find out later that she wasn't the one that moved it. It moved out on its own. It just opened the drawer up and stepped out and sat back on top of the dresser right in front of her. That's where I got my curiosity.
That would scare the living hell out of me if I saw that. I'm not going to lie. There may be a change of underwear happening if I see that happening.
Oh look, brown shorts.
Exactly my point. And you know what? It's one of those things when you come down to it, and this gets back to the whole etiquette side, is, Derek, someone may hear your story in regards to this, and immediately they're like, well, I don't believe it because I haven't seen it. We see a lot of that in the paranormal field in undercutting people and their knowledge and their investigation. So, Derek, I'm going to pose this question to you in regards to paranormal etiquette. What do you feel needs to be changed in the industry in order to help clean it up so everybody's kind of working on the same page?
What bothers me a lot, sometimes some of these guys who call themselves skeptics, they, once everything's recorded, then they'll say, oh, it was the breeze. Oh, it was this. Oh, it was that. They're never with you on location to investigate. At least we got Ryan. We got Mike. We got Glenn. I mean, all three guys. Yes, Glenn may have had his mom as a medium, but, there's still skepticism in all of us. And I'm also my own biggest skeptic because I've been to some places where people will say, well, it's haunted. Well, we'll see. Not everything is haunted. Sometimes they're just people that like to be playful, but that's all. It's just simple. Family, maybe family members have just passed away, no big deal. But you're going to always have someone out there that's going to try to critique you and make you feel like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. So,
I guess part of the issue that I have with the paranormal field is that there are so many different avenues that people are taking. We have the scientific avenue, we have the debunking avenue, we have the spiritual avenue, we have the egocentric avenue. Is there ever a way, Derek, in your mind, as I bring you into this conversation, that we could actually bring paranormal unity together, or is that such a far-fetched scheme that because there are so many different attitudes and egos involved that it'll never happen?
I think what it is, from the very beginning when we started, I mean, I've been in this industry for over 30 years, but I never walked into with any type of machinery. All we had was just a common tape recorder and a flashlight. And you had people with you, and you just take chances, and you were making your own decision. That's pretty well it. I mean, there are people out there that are going to try everything they can to tear it apart. There is competition out there. There are people that are going to try to say, well, I'm better than you, or our team's better than you. And you're going to see it on TV. But you know who I think really makes it competitive is the media. The media actually makes you competitive. You know, they're always going to compare you to another TV show or compare you to another team somewhere. My belief is like when Glenn and I and all of us put together a paranormal conference this last year, and when we invited some of the paranormal teams and friends of paranormal from the U.S. and in Canada, and they came down to our conference, that was the best time for all of us because we all talked about a lot of each other, shared each other's cases, but we never came in there with an ego. Never. We just we're so glad. But you're going to always have that odd person in that group or two that are going to not even want to talk to you because they want to billboard their table only, and that's it. So, does that make any sense, Glenn?
Yes, it does.
You know, so we're here to share to the public about everybody's job, what we work with, how we do it, and then we like to watch how they do it. Everyone's going to have some new equipment everywhere. We're not going to be just experts. We're not professionals I can't call myself a medium that I'm the best in the world. I call myself a medium because I do what I can do best. I do what I can do best with my ability. But there are other mediums out there. We're all different. But we all have our own way of doing it.
What do you think of that, Glenn, in regards to what Derek is saying?
I think he's pretty much hitting the nail on the head as far as where we are with other groups. You know, it's just one of those things. You know, you can put up with a certain amount of bullshit for a while, but after a while, it just becomes annoying. So we kind of tune it out, basically.
And Mike, when Derek is saying that we all got to kind of check the ego at the door, do you think that is possible? Or do you think there's just way too much at stake with ego and pride and everybody trying to get their own vision across as being the right vision, that it's impossible to kind of bring this whole paranormal unity together?
I fully agree that para-unity, we could call it, can happen. I'm going to give it the old college try. The current group we have is Chronicles and with the Canadian Paranormal Society. We're all pretty laid-back, chill people who do check the ego at the door. Example being, we'll put each other in check if we're too big for our britches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right, Glenn?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Well, you know what? I think it's important, though, to delve into this because we see so many of these groups out there. I mean, let's face it. To be a professional paranormal group, all you need to do is go pick up a digital voice recorder, a digital camera, a Bic pen, notepad, and come up with some acronym, and boom, you're a professional paranormal investigation team. You've probably studied what you've learned, whether it's on the television shows or on YouTube, and you think you're ready to go and go play and find some ghosts. But there is so much more to it than that, isn't there, Glenn? I mean, you really have to be a student of the undead in order to try and gain what you need to find.
It's one of those things that you have to study everything. Like, you can look back at what we've done over the last 6-7 years. We've covered a lot of locations, but the point is, how do we actually investigate those locations, and do we get back to the client? The client for us is key. Like, we spend a lot of time after the fact dealing with the client, and that's our selling feature, I guess, because we've had clients for like 7 years now, which we still keep in contact with.
Wonderful. I do have a question from the Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Travelers room here on Facebook, and Gail is asking each and every one of you individually, and Mike, we'll start with you. Is this your day job, or do you have to really combine a career, a family life, and the paranormal experience into one giant ball of time?
This is not my day job. This is a side gig that I enjoy doing. My day job is... This is a vacation compared to my day job.
And I'll just say, you work in a form of law enforcement, and, that's as far as we'll go with that. But in regards to who you are publicly, you're a paranormal investigator.
Yes, I'm very private. So, yeah, that would be... That is a good assessment, Dave.
Well, you know what? I paint a picture. I try and, just like Shazam, abracadabra. There, I've painted the picture. Derek, how about you? What do you do when you're not paranormal investigating?
Well, I'm mostly a counselor. I work with the kids. I'm also a puppeteer. I like to work with the kids in the community. I'm also, as a professional, I am actually the psychic medium. I do readings from my home and all that too. I'm also involved with the Métis community. I'm actually the cultural director of the Chief Métis Museum, so I teach Métis history. So I go to the schools and teach Métis history to the kids, as well as I work at the powwows, make my crafts. I do so many things in my life because to me, those are all my hobbies. But that's just part of me. I like to be out there, just have fun, enjoy life, and that's what we're all about. And if you don't, you're going to be bored.
And Glennard, how about you?
Working as a PA right now, production assistant. In my day job, I work part-time for the Hollywood North movie industry as an extra, a background performer. Other than that, pretty much editing the show for Chronicles of the Unknown. I'm a camera guy, and I'm also the chief editor and voiceover guy.
Question from Claudia in the SOR Space Travelers, and Derek, will start with you. Why is there ego when everyone has the gift to see if that is their intent?
Why is the ego?
Why is there ego in this field?
I think I'll tell you one thing. It didn't really start out until, I would say, television. Because, a lot of... I know I could be wrong in that one, but there's a lot of mediums and psychics that came out of the blue back in the 1800s, and they were just trying to show people that this is the gift that they've got to make contact with loved ones that are passed away. And then the public itself, I guess I would say the media, blew up. Whoever's gifted more and more and more, they always put them in, and they would compare you to others. Like one time there was a guy that I met, his name was Dennis, I can't remember his last name, and I read Dennis. He just called me up about 14 years ago, or 14 years ago, I gave him a reading about his son, and Dennis was a well-known writer, is a well-known writer and director of some TV shows, and I gave him a reading, and I guess what he did, he called me the Canadian version of Edward. And I'm going like that's a little bit kind of. You're throwing me on that.
We're getting a little bit of feedback from you right now, Derek. I don't know if you can turn a speaker down or something.
That's
along
not.
those
It's somebody else's.
Okay. Well, if somebody can do that, because I do want to make sure that we get some clean audio. So people are basically saying that you're like the Canadian version of John Edwards, is what you're
Yeah, that's what Dennis said. He called me the Canadian version of John Edwards. He started putting me out there all over his blog pages, and I said, don't do that because I'm not John Edward. So he said, well, I just want to make you look good. I said, no, you don't have to compare me. I'm okay.
Who's John Edwards?
Yeah, who's John Edwards?
Well,
not a politician.
Let me rephrase this question from Claudia for you then, Glenn. In regards to that, everyone does have a gift. You're just learning your gifts because back in England, your mother was a very talented psychic medium, and she actually held a lot of clout in your former country.
Yeah, she was a trance medium, physical medium.
Now, do you believe then that if the veil can be lifted, if that is one's intention, that you can actually have an easier access of seeing what you're actually searching for?
Yes, I agree with that completely. I don't want to go that route. I prefer the scientific route, and if I can get something physical to show someone, then that to me is the real thing.
How about you, Mike?
Sorry, I was on mute. I didn't want you to yell at me. Repeat the question again.
In regards to everybody kind of learning their own intentions and their own gifts, you know, as you go through this, have you found that your own self has opened up to what you are seeing out there besides the technology that you're using?
Absolutely. I've learned a lot from Derek since starting this. I pick his brain a lot because when we're driving to our locations, that's sometimes a 10-hour drive. So he'll teach me a lot of the spiritual side, and I tend to listen to him and kind of do the things he does. So I would say it has broadened my spiritual horizon.
People don't realize that Mike, since Mike started with me or with all of us, and then I guess he turns to me a lot for help. But since we've been together for this, I would say over a year now, Mike has really advanced better. He's really has learned to, I guess we'd say, deal with what comes at him, not run from him or from them. So he's done very, very well.
Yeah, he's actually slowed down on the running thing. Which is
easy. Good. It's only after the exercise.
But, when it comes to exercise, Mike, is Derek or Glenn driving with a hamburger sticking out the window, or?
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. But they don't like to drive to me because apparently I drive too fast.
Yeah, and he spends too much time looking at his phone.
There's no such thing as texting and driving.
You know, well.
Yeah, I think Eric Cooper has a very, very good comment into what we've been talking about tonight. He says, knowledge and intuition are the best tools any paranormal group can have. What's your thoughts on that, Glenn?
Eric is correct. I was chatting with him earlier today, and he seems to be a smart guy. He's got it pretty much nailed down.
Why is that so important to have the knowledge and intuition as the best tools?
It's one of those things that you can go in there like a complete nerd and know the history of the location. But intuition definitely makes a big difference on what you perceive when you actually get on location, not based on the actual historical events.
Mike, your opinion on that with knowledge and intuition?
Absolutely. I trust my gut with everything, be it at work, like with my day job, or even with doing our investigations in these locations we really know nothing about because they're all untouched until we get there.
And Derek? Knowledge and intuition. I know you're intuitive, but how important is it to have the knowledge of knowing what you are doing going into an investigation?
Well, I think the most important part I like about it is when you go in an investigation and people talk about legends. Legend, he did this, and legend, she did that. And we always hear the word legend, but we really don't know if that's a true story because people are known to...
He's typing.
Somebody's typing.
Sorry. Going on mute.
There you go.
Moran, quit it.
I'm trying to answer questions in the feed.
Whatever.
He's feeding. Legends, like people talk about legends and whether or not, you really don't know if those things are true or not. So you got to trust what you feel that is real. And if you want to find out something is actually like that or anything intuitive that is a presence of spirit, that's exactly what you got to deal with. So it's, I think I went off base on that one.
Oh, yes, that's all right. You know what? That's okay. We're going to go right into a break here on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking with Derek White, Sky Cloud, Mike Moran, and Glenn Ferguson from Chronicles of the Unknown. They make their way to this show on the third Monday of every month to talk a little bit paranormal. And we are through halfway of this show already. We are going to go with the next second half hour with your questions. And we're going to get into a little bit of techie talk. Is paranormal activity and paranormal investigation becoming way too technically advanced? We'll find out what the guys think right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies, Bigfoot, dogmen, trolls, goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us, so why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. We're starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I don't want to take a thing from you. I just want to feel like something real with you. I just want to fly high to another.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Butch Witkowski will join us. He is from UFOcop.com. We're going to be talking Dogman, werewolves, UFOs, alien abductions, mutilations, and so much more tomorrow night with Butch Witkowski on the mighty SOR. We have a bunch of new listeners taking part in the SOR Space Travelers tonight. Amanda, thank you so much. PK, thank you for giving us a shot as well. Really appreciate you coming in. Marla as well, thank you so much. Always appreciate new listeners coming in. We do this every night, 7 days a week, 3 hours a night, starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. We are always live. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. You can subscribe to that. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Every month, on the third Monday of the month, we talk paranormal with members of the Chronicles of the Unknown. We are joined tonight by Glenn Ferguson, Mike Morin, and Derek White Sky Cloud. Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Glenn, I want to start off with you on this part because you're the techie guy of the field. You have more toys than a Walmart toy area when it comes to the paranormal. You know,
okay.
Whether it's cameras, drones, digital voice recorders, anything to do with the field. I want to ask you, and I'll ask you point blank, has paranormal investigation become too technical?
Yes and no. There's a good bias behind what we do right now. The equipment that's coming out is fantastic, like the SLS camera with our structured light source camera has been invaluable for us. Like we'll leave a location and then get a hit on the SLS. Which allows us to stay in the location longer and actually interact with that entity. Now, to get it to raise its right arm as a stick figure is like freaking awesome.
Mike, how about you? Is it a little bit too technical these days when it comes to technology and paranormal investigation?
Yes, because I am lazy. Just give me an IR camera and a nice Zoom voice recorder, and I'm good to go. An Ovilus on occasion, because I think they produce some cool results. But mostly I'm a digital recorder guy. Zoom, to be specific.
And Derek,
Zoom.
Being old school, Derek, where you were doing this before there was a lot of this technology that has advanced the field so much. When you look at it from when you started investigating the paranormal to now, how has technology really changed in what you do?
Oh, man. It's changed a lot. I mean, in my work, I thought when the K2 meter came out, that was going to be the most advanced item ever. And then there was what you call the Frank's box that came out 5 or so years ago. And I had a friend of mine on my radio show at one time years back, and we were experimenting, talking to my relatives, that my mom and dad that passed away, and I thought that was the only thing that's going to be coming out in the future that would make it, that's the best communication ever to make contact with the other side. But there's so many new tools now that are coming out today. Even the Frank's box is just part of it, not all of it. Because what Glenn has and Mike has invested in, and what Troy's invested in, and combined all together, it's called the tool of the gods.
When you look at the technology, Glenn, is there any tool out there that you look at that you think any ghost hunter should have in their toolbox when they're going out on an investigation?
Oh, guaranteed. For a shout out, I definitely had to go with the Zoom recorder. Any digital voice recorder is a key element to any paranormal team.
What does it do?
Digital voice recording, it picks up frequencies that we can't hear with our own ear, but will be recorded to the digital media.
And why do you find that to be such an important piece of equipment to have?
That, for us, has been our mainstay for evidence. Pretty much guaranteed we'll always get audio at every location we go to. Very little on the video, but audio guaranteed. Definitely we go for our A-class style EVPs. Anything below that we kind of look at and generally toss out, but definitely A-class for us.
And Mike, when you go out in the field, what do you suggest to anyone who is starting out to have as a piece of equipment?
Go to voice recorder. In my opinion, it's better than photo to me, because photo video is extremely hard to capture. It's a lot of hours as well. It's a crapshoot. But audio, you'll always come up with something. The reason I like the Zoom recorder is it records, and it's very high quality. It equivalent to recording music in a studio. There's multiple microphones on it, so it captures pretty much a 360 area, not just the area you're pointing it in. The files are massive, but it's worth it. So my answer is an audio recorder.
And Derek, do you like to get into the technical side with things, or do you prefer just to try and keep it simple?
I'm easy. I guess I keep it simple. But actually, I used to use a common regular tape recorder, analoging, and I thought that was would be substantial. I mean, there's a lot of advances now these days, and actually, always hands K2 meter. I said I want the K2 meter, and I'll use that recorder. So that's pretty well it.
I have a question for you from the SOR Space Travelers Room, Derek, from Amanda. And she is asking you, Derek, what is the most beautiful thing you have witnessed as a psychic?
Seeing an angel 9.5 feet tall appear before me.
Explain what happened there.
I was actually investigating a paranormal activity in this lady's house. She actually called me to come into Vancouver. Her two sons were being frightened or scared, or I guess scared by this particular ghost. They wouldn't leave her alone. I was scaring the boys, so I told her, okay, I'll come down and give her a hand. And the husband was at work. He was a lawyer, and she said, I said to her, tell the ghost, if he is there, to go into your room, into your bedroom, and which sounds kind of corny, but that's true. So anyways, I got there, and they have this house is huge. I mean, they had 10-foot vault ceilings. And so I went in there, and she sat on the bed, at the edge of the bed, and I said to her, we'll call him out. So I called him out, and we both witnessed this very tall white ghost with black eyes and black mouth show itself. And then I said to the ghost, it's time for you to leave. You need to go with the spirit, go to the other side. And he was shaking his head like, I'm not leaving anywhere. No words were spoken, just his gestures. And so I did my prayers out loud, and I called for the angels to come and get him. And we both witnessed a puff of smoke, looked like a big, huge amount of smoke come from the ceiling, come gathering down from the ceiling down right behind him. and it took form into an angel about 9.5 feet tall, and it wrapped its arms carefully around the person, the ghost, and but he never held him tight. He was just put his arms around him, and it basically, I think, was all to do with showing him his memories of what he was like when he was living. And then the angel let him go, and it billowed back through the ceiling again. And then the ghost looked at us, and he just looked at us, and he was like, he was gesturing, saying, "I'm sorry." And then, with a matter of not even 30 seconds, 40 seconds, the smoke came back down from the ceiling again, and all there was like half an angel reaching down with his arms out, stretched to the ghost, and the ghost reached up, and he lifted up and towards the angel, and they both disappeared through the ceiling. And we just stood there with amazement in our eyes, like, wow. That was it. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. Amazing as it is. And that's why I love getting in these questions from the audience to get those true stories and tales right then and there as they happen, because it is very, very cool when we get to hear stories like that. I want to get back to the technology here for a moment. Glenn, we get a lot of people out there, and I do a lot of research for this show, and when we're talking paranormal, we seem to have this big thing when it comes to technology and the usage of gear, of the do's and don'ts. We have so many people now using these ghost apps on their cell phones. Do you believe those work?
No. I have a couple of myself. I have Iobolus and a few other ghost radar type stuff. None of them work. They work on proximity from your sensors on your phone. They're not really a ghost hunting app as such.
Yet there are so many people out there using and paying the $1 or $2 or up to $10 for these apps. You think they're all rip-offs, or do you think that there might be something to them? They just need to be proven a little bit more.
There is something to some of the apps. I use a Seek Thermal Cam, which is an attachment for my phone. I just kind of bang it in my phone and use the app to actually see what I'm looking at in a thermal state. It's cheap. It's about $280 Canadian, basically, with taxes and everything else on top of it. So it's not a bad app. It does work, and it's kind of a little tool.
There's a lot of people out there who say the K2 doesn't work, that there's certain cameras you need to get, that if you're not going out into the field with an Ovilus or something along those lines, that you're really not doing the job properly. Is there room for that type of discussion in here, or is it just ego because people are saying, you know, I'm spending more money on equipment than you are, so I'm getting better evidence?
It depends on the situation. Like, we have a friend of ours who's probably in the chat room right now, Mr. Kandui. He's an amazing guy when it comes to the spirit box. I've never been a big fan of it because I was kind of thinking it was random, but the way he uses it is amazing. Like, he gets real responses in real time.
Mike, I got a question, and we'll start with you on this one from Galen in the SOR Space Travelers room. She is asking, how much evidence does your team get when you do an investigation? So take us through an investigation from how long it takes to how much evidence you're collecting to how you break it down.
Well, when we're doing a Chronicles episode, we're at a location for 3 or 4 days. I'll give you an example. Night 1, we will investigate for approximately 8 to 10 hours, give or take, and we may get nothing. We will use every tool we have. We will try every building we have access to and get nothing. Night 2, we could be getting off-the-hook results where all of our gear is draining from the energy. We're getting hits on the EVP, like our voice recorders. We're seeing shit in our video. Sorry, we're seeing stuff in our video. It all depends, man. Sometimes it's silent. You can go a couple days without nothing. It's literally like fishing.
Yeah.
But that's the best way to explain it. On average, maybe we'll get a couple voice EVPs. Sometimes we'll do an entire shoot and get nothing and have to go back. All depends on what they want, as in the spirits.
So how long does an investigation usually take then, Glenn?
It varies. Like when we're doing shoots for Chronicles of the Unknown, it's generally 3 days. We'll go in there, we'll do some B-roll, a whole bunch of interviews with the client, any guests who want to put their name on the show. But it's generally one full night for us, an 8-hour investigation, and then at least another day of shooting extra B-roll. B-roll is basically the stuff that you want to slot in there for voiceover, which is it basically fills your show.
In a nutshell, we cannot control the amount of evidence we get.
That's correct.
So you book an amount of time, let's say 8 hours for an investigation, but if there's only 4 hours of evidence, you're pulling out, or if there's 2 hours of evidence, you're pulling out.
In 8 hours of investigation, we may have 10 minutes of evidence.
If that.
That's why we do 3 to 4 days. That's pretty average. 10 to 15 minutes of audio, video per day. Out of 8 hours, we'll scrape together that much.
It looks all cool on TV. Like you get 44 minutes to actually put your point across at any location.
Out of 32 filming hours times 3 or 4 cameras times 6 audio recorders, 44 minutes.
Yeah.
So that'll give you a little bit of perspective of how much shit we have, how much stuff we have to go through.
All right, where the swearing drinking game is up to about 7 tonight on the show. So I'm sure our listeners are pretty intoxicated now, gentlemen. That's awesome. Derek, when you hear Mike and Glenn talk all this techie stuff, what goes through your mind as you're trying to gather information too? Do you carry anything with you, or do you just rely on your intuition and instincts?
Do I carry anything with me? I carry my tobacco, protection stuff, my phones, anything I need. My rosary, that's pretty well it. In case anything happens with any of the... I mean, it's not just for me, it's for the rest of the boys too as well, because it's been times that these guys actually got nailed by a few spirits. So, I'm always there to give them a hand, or if I need a hand, they're there to help me. So, and there's a time that I went through the major drop at one of the houses that I was investigating, and I didn't know that I passed out, and then they were helping me up on my feet. So, yeah,
that was Troy.
It was Troy, yeah. So I was in a trance then, and I guess whatever happened, I didn't come back quick enough, and I guess they picked me up so I wouldn't fall on the floor. I wasn't sitting in a chair.
Yeah, I kind of noticed you slipping, and I mentioned it to Troy, and he was right in there.
Yeah. Good thing I didn't have a piece of the floor.
Yeah. That's the game we play.
Yep.
Galen wants to know, and sorry, Derek, I'll let you finish up.
I was just saying, it can be dangerous. It's not, some people think it's so fun to be there, but it can be dangerous. We can get hurt, seriously get hurt. That's something that people need to know.
What kind of danger do you worry about?
You can get hurt by something being thrown at you. You can fall downstairs by a spirit pushing you over. Something thrown at you, or fall over, trip over, because you're walking in the dark. Because you can actually be grabbed, hair pulled, even
pinned to a wall.
Yeah, pinned to the wall, or even forces a person to actually just throw up outside because you have no control over it, and you can even get hypnotized by a spirit, not even know it. So those things can happen, and they can be dangerous, but we always have to watch each other's back.
I got a question from Galen in the Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Travelers on Facebook. She has had clients several hours away, and she can't even get herself to accept gas money. Whether you're with Chronicles or whether you're with TCPS, do you charge any money?
No. We've been doing this a while. We don't charge anything for our investigations, and actually we give back to the client as well with our public events.
Why not charge? What is the purpose of not charging?
It's a moral issue. Like, you're either in this for the long haul and doing it as it's supposed to be done, or you go in there charging money, which is, I feel, fraudulent because you can't actually prove what we're actually experiencing.
Anybody else want to comment on that? Mike? Derek?
Well, sometimes people will give you money for gas to come out. That's pretty well it. Which is, if we want to give a donation, that's fine. We don't mind. One time I'll say, no, don't bother. You don't have to bother. No, they'll do it. So that's pretty well it. I mean, because you're going on an investigation. You're not there for giving somebody a reading. You're not there to, you're not there for a party. You're there to do your job. We're there to give people a hand. That's what our job is.
For me, I don't even accept gas money. I like to give back. People are letting us, example, when we go to these historic sites, people are opening the doors, saying, "Have at this location." It's a huge, it's a huge experience. No one else gets to do that. Oh, sorry, very few people get to do that. And as a way of thanking them for letting us into their area, we like to give back, doing a lot of charity fundraisers. That's our thing.
Well, let's talk about those charity fundraisers for a second. How did that idea come up, Mike?
I brought that up with Chronicles. I like giving back. We get to raise money for all of our historic sites because I think it's very important for future generations to understand why British Columbia is today.
Yeah,
that's it. And it's good karma. It's just being a nice person. It's okay to be a nice person.
So when you guys, Glenn, go out on a charity event, what do you do?
Pretty much the same thing we would normally do on a regular investigation. We just teach the people how to use our equipment, take them through our etiquette and how to conduct an EVP session, blah, 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 EMF scans, and let them have at it. They get something out of it, great. We've pretty much been bang on with the last couple of investigations where we've invited the public.
I enjoy to do these public investigations and charity events because people get to see. It's kind of funny. I call it every time we do this. You'll get all the skeptics coming in thinking it's a joke, it's just stupid, blah, 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 blah. Then those are the guys that leave the most convinced or have actual verification of had experiences. And then I'm like, see?
Well, I guess it does open up the public's eyes, but what you call it a charity event, where does the money go?
All proceeds go to the historic site that we're doing it at. All of it.
All of it.
We don't even get them to pay for our lodging. It all goes to them. Take it, put it into the site.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Derek, do you like doing the charity events?
I've been doing charity events for a lot of years. Even, for example, myself as a medium, I get called into the spiritualist churches to do performances, and I don't get paid for it. I come out there because I've always been taught to give back to the universe. What Spirit's done for you, I give back for the community. So, and when the guys came up with the idea of doing a charity for the team, to get the team down there, I said, yeah, it's a great idea. And we've done a couple already, and looking forward to doing more because you're getting, like the guys say, that you're getting the awareness out to the public, and you're not taking anything from the organizations. You're actually helping them out so they can keep their historical societies running, because it's very difficult. The government doesn't always cover them. They have to be self-supportive. So,
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on. We are going to take a break here at the top of the hour. We have 1 hour left with Chronicles of the Unknown, Glenn Ferguson, Mike Morin, and Derek White Sky Cloud tonight. We're talking paranormal, everything and anything in regards to the field. And we're going to get to more of your questions right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Talk to you on the other side.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Hour number 3 with Chronicles of the Unknown coming up next. But first, I do want to remind you, tomorrow night on the show, we are going to be talking with Butch Witkowski from UFOcop.com. We're getting into dogman, werewolf sightings, UFOs, alien abduction, mutilations. He is the master when it comes to learning all of this. He is so tapped in. We're lucky to have Butch on for his third time on Spaced Out Radio tomorrow night. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can subscribe to that. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with Glenn Ferguson, Mike Morin, and Derek White Sky Cloud with Chronicles of the Unknown, a Canadian paranormal team. They come in here once a month, the third Monday of every month, to talk some paranormal with us. Gentlemen, always good. Derek, I want to start off with a question for you. Since you're like the spiritual man around here.
Oh.
I have to ask, over the last week and a bit, and you've been to my house. You know where my carport is when I explain that.
Yeah, that's where the spaceships land, yeah.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. You know, that is a tow-away zone.
Your carport.
Yeah, that is a tow-away zone, I will say that. But I got to ask you, man, and I'm sure it has something to do with the time of year, but almost every night when I wander outside into my carport during the breaks, because I like to go look up at the stars and see what's going on, I like to stretch out and everything like that, there's frogs everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, 3-4 weeks ago, I was having a little bit of a rough patch in taking a lot of negativity and criticism. And then all of a sudden, as things started to shift back to normal, all these frogs show up. Is there a spiritual significance to that?
Yep. There is. With frogs, they are very protective of you, and they let you know that, in your surroundings, what people don't think about. They're so caught up in society, and they think about everything that's inside their home. They worry about everything in the community. They worry about their family, worry about all this stuff. And then they forget that when you walk outside and you just listen to nature itself, those frogs don't have a job. Those frogs don't do anything. They don't worry about anyone. They go out there and they communicate with each other, letting you know how each other's doing. Same with the crickets and anything that actually makes noise at night. But let you know it's a very serene time. Just let you know you need to relax and enjoy your night, instead of looking for the worst. And then you got and from all those frogs you listen to, all the crickets and the tapping of the computers, then you actually look up in the sky and you see all those stars. And then you wonder yourself, I wonder if there's any spaceships actually flying across the sky. So your mind's not even focused on anything that you worry about. It's all what's up there and all around your surroundings. I do that every night when I walk my dog out. If I'm worrying about something, I go, I go out at night, 2 or 3 in the morning, and just walk my dog out. That's why I love walking in the dark. I got no flashlight. I'm out there. And, people say, aren't you afraid? No. I like walking in the dark because I want to see what's in the sky, not what's in the bush. So that's a good part. So that's one thing, the lessons you learn is actually, instead of having to let things bother you in society, just step outside and enjoy what's out there, because it's yours also to share.
So the frogs are a good thing.
That's a good thing, yeah.
Awesome.
Especially when you got Kermit.
No puppeteer. I know you're a puppeteer as well. Claudia has a question. We'll start off with you on this one, Derek. Do you think the veil lifts if your heart and intention desires it?
The veil will always lift if your intention is good to help others. Most of the time, the veil will lift when you are helping others cross over into the light. When you need that help, they'll help you. The veil will lift if you're wanting to make contact with a loved one that's crossed over. If you need that time and peace of mind. But the veil is always opening and closing constantly. But the veil will never ask you to come in until it's your time. But at the time, they only open it to communicate back with you.
And Glenn, I'm going to ask a follow-up question from Claudia for you. Do you think ghosts visit from a lot of different dimensions For instance, can ghosts visit us from the future?
I'm not quite sure on the future. Definitely the past. We've come across quite a few over the last few years that are stuck in the 18th, 19th centuries. So it's not something we've actually come across. We haven't actually had anything that's come from the future. But then again, like you say, it could be interdimensional, where you could actually cross boundaries in the future. But I don't know.
Mike, what's your thoughts on that? Turn your mic on, Mike.
Sorry. It's because you yell at me. Are we talking time travel? I don't know how I feel about that stuff.
Well, I guess it could get into time travel if we're thinking a ghost from the future. Would it not? Derek, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't know if they come from... I know my name's not Derek, but I don't think they... that ghosts can come from the future because they're not dead yet. I don't know how I feel about that.
I can agree with Mike on that one.
You're actually watching the movie Scrooge. It's the only one future ghost I've ever seen that. But most times you actually have a ghost that comes from the future. Mostly it's just some guy walking around in black and saying, "Hey, how's it going, dude?"
Or do you mean like a premonition? Mm-hmm.
I guess it could go in all sorts of different directions here, right?
Yeah. Could be a premonition.
Basically, I don't see any ghosts from the future. You only see people that come from the future, and that's pretty well it. That make look like ghosts.
I got a question from Amanda in the SOR Space Travelers room, and Glenn, we'll start with you on this one. Can you please explain in layman's terms what EMF is?
Electromagnetic field. It's a naturally occurring field. The tool itself, the EMF gauges that we use, the K2, the MEL 8704, and the tri-field, are all electricians' tools to check on faulty wiring in the wall. That was the basis behind the actual field itself. Now we're believing in this field that entities are made up of electromagnetic energy. So we can track that energy within an environment where it doesn't exist prior. Like if you do a base sweep of location, you hit all the hotspots, the computers, the microwaves, whatever is going to give you off natural EMF. And if you get any fluctuations within that area where there shouldn't be any EMF, then we kind of believe that it could be an interaction with an entity.
So what in someone's home or place of business would actually give off EMF?
It varies. Power panels, definite EMF, electrical equipment such as amplifiers, even guitars, because they still have a circuit inside themselves. Cell phones give off huge EMF, which is kind of interesting. If you put your cell phone down by a K2 meter, and every 3 or 4 minutes it will set off your K2. So I tend not to use any cell phones on our investigations because it just give us a whole bunch of false readings.
Mike, would you like to give a couple of examples of when you're on an investigation, what you're looking for in regards to EMF to make sure that everything is working correctly?
Find out where all the wiring in the walls are, because that gives off a crap load of EMF. Find out where the house box is, like the electrical box. Find out where all the outlets are. You want to rule all that stuff out before you can make a decision on if the EMF is paranormal.
Derek, as a spirit medium, do you pick up on EMF naturally, or can you find out where there's EMF hotspots in a home?
No, that's what the guys came in for as technology is concerned. I one time I did an investigation with these guys, and I guess Glenn had said to me, or somebody had a question about regarding some of the means, and I answered wrong. Glenn says, "Don't equipment." So, no, I'm just a guy, just the medium, and if I feel the energy or if there's electronic, I would say my type of detection of energy is how I feel kind of zapped. If I know there's something there, it's either near me, on top of my head, near my hands. If I know there's a presence in the room, my whole body starts to, my body starts, all the hairs stand up on my arms. I know there's somebody in the room in spirit. So then I just have to. It's like an electrical field as well. It's more like a BMF, not an EMF.
Claudia has a question for you, Derek, and she is saying she went to a peyote ceremony 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. and throughout the ceremony she heard many voices like ancestors there. Have you ever heard groups of voices?
Not that way, but I'll say one thing. My son-in-law went on a peyote journey for 4 days up in Arizona, and he abandoned his campsite. And when he came, he disappeared for those 3 days. And when he came back, he wouldn't even talk about it. But he never came back to get his stuff. He just went home. It scared the living heck out of him. So everybody is different when they go through peyote ceremony.
What is peyote? Is that marijuana?
No, peyote is actually a root. This comes from a cactus, a certain type of cactus, and you chew on that, and you go on a high in your trip, a journey, and you have to be an expert to know how to use it, and there has to be someone present there to watch you go through the ceremony. We do have ceremonies in different areas, including BC. People do have peyote ceremonies called peyote church. And they do the peyote ceremonies, and it depends on how you're going to deal with it. And everybody experiences it differently. So it's not a pot high. It's totally different, but you do feel the experience. Some people saying, "Oh, it reminds me of LSD." No, you don't know LSD. There is a different story to it.
When you guys are out investigating on a case and it's a brand new territory that you have never been to, what's the first thing you guys do? Mike, we'll start with you on this one in regards to a brand new investigation.
What do we do in regards to when we roll up in our vehicle, start our journey there, so to speak, my verbal journey?
Exactly.
Okay. Basically, the team's going, excluding Derek. We all kind of have a clue what's been going on in the past, and we have a clue of. We'll have Jeff, our audio guy. He emails a lot of the clients, and he'll get stories from various people in the community of stories that's happened in the past, paranormal experiences. So we kind of know the areas where to go. We'll talk to the site curator, and then we usually do a tour immediately of the area, because Glenn and I like to figure out where we're going to set up for night one, because usually it will be different spots various nights. Then we pretty much just jump in, set our stuff up, go eat something, and then get ready for the night. We definitely will have the curator with us the entire time when we do that.
When you are going to a new location, let's say it's a museum, do you have the curator kind of walk you around where the hot spots are, or do you want to know that type of information before you go in, or do you prefer to go in cold and get the feeling yourself before you actually set up your gear and decide what and who you're going to investigate? Glenn, maybe you can take that one.
It depends on the location. Yes, it's nice to have some sort of history on the location. I'm sure Mike is typing in the background again. Stop. Thank you.
Prove it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Some locations we need to know as much information as we can possibly get our hands on. And other locations we prefer to go in cold. It depends on, on the location itself.
So what is the difference then, Glenn, in going in purely cold into a location and going in, say, knowing a little bit of the history of the spirits that may be haunting this museum or a building?
Well, for us, it's like we're not going in there with the notion that the place is already active. We've done lots of locations that have been that way, and I've spent a lot of time with the movie industry in Riverview Hospital, and people are looking at me going, "Are you going to go in that place?" Yes, I am going to go in that place, and if I can get away with it, I'm going to shoot whatever I can on whatever floor I intended to be on at that time, including the tunnels, which I do have some footage.
Well, that's interesting. So you basically can be a one-man wrecking crew on that, because you're kind of the rebel of the group, Glenn. You like to go off and do these little test subjects on your own, whereas the other group is more about sticking together.
Yes and no. Like, if I could invite my guys in there and know that they'd get away with shooting some stuff, great. But I can't really go that far because of what my job is, basically, as a background performer.
When you are going out to a first-time location, Derek, you've already stated that you don't like to know very much about it. How quickly for you, Derek, when you walk onto a location that is said to be haunted, are you picking up things? Are you picking up things, say, minutes, hours before, or miles or kilometers before you actually arrive, or does the intensity pick up once you arrive on scene?
Depends. Sometimes I've actually would get dreams about it the night before, or 2 nights before I even go. And I'm not just my own investigations with the guys, but on my own. Or when I'm outside the building, I'll get the feelings already, and I'll start feeling kind of zapped and go like, okay, here we go. It's going to start now. They already know we're coming in. They just know themselves. Even the spirits that are in the building, they know that there's somebody coming in the door. So then the challenge is, who are they going to go after?
I always have a routine of when we're going on to investigations is to ask Derek what he thinks is going to happen or how he thinks things are going to play out. And he's usually pretty spot on. He'll be like, oh, Troy's going to get bugged by a spirit. And day 2, Troy gets bugged by a spirit.
Yeah, you've been pretty accurate with that.
You guys believe a lot in making sure you are prepared going into a scenario through a little bit of a ceremony, of a blessing ceremony. Derek, what is the importance of doing this ceremony right before you go into an investigation?
Yeah, the importance of protection is actually, it's more like going in positive, not with a negative attitude. We don't go in there with an ego above us, and we become very humble. Also, protection of the light around us, so then we don't feel dark. There have been incidences that you would probably hear stories of other people that don't do prayers, that don't believe in the God light, so to speak, and they walk in and they wonder why they're getting attacked. And they say, well, maybe because somebody didn't do this and somebody didn't do that. But they never use the word prayer or protection. And I've always felt it was always important, no matter what we did. I mean, not just for paranormal, but I always did prayers of protection on when I'm driving, traveling, any type of ceremony that we're doing. I even do that when I run my sweat lodges. That we always do a prayer of protection to make sure everyone goes in humbly and lovingly. And it's basically because you're feeling that you need that healing. So everyone is going to go through some sort of an experience. But I always get an idea that there'll always be someone in our group that will have a little bit of a challenge, not with an ego challenge. It's more of a saying, I'm gonna try this and see what happens. And Glenn, he likes the challenge once in a while, like you mentioned earlier before. And I tease him about it when he gets hit. But you know what? We're supposed to experience it. And the reason why I tease him, because we're all going to get touched. We're all going to get, if they were meant to be touched, we're meant to show the proof to the public that, these spirits do exist. So it's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's what we're looking for.
Mike, when you go through the ceremony before you guys go on an investigation, what does it feel like for you to know that you're going in positive, you're going with a good attitude, respect for the spirits? Is it any different than when you were not going in with that protection?
It's a sense of security in a way. where you feel like you're going to be okay. There'll be times when we'll be neglectful and forget to cleanse or protect ourselves before going in.
Yep.
But for me, I have a backup. I carry a black onyx in my pocket, which is this very strong protection stone. So if we neglect to sage or smudge beforehand, I still can fall back on that. But yes, I feel naked without protection. No pun intended.
The funny part it is about with Mike, when I'll say to him, what do you feel as far as the energies around you? And he goes, I don't feel anything. I said, take your medicine out of your pocket and give it to me. Let me hold it for you. So he takes it out, and I said, now how do you feel? He can feel it. That's how protected he is. He does not recognize or does not feel any of the energy around him because he's that well protected with that medicine.
Glenn, what about groups who don't protect? Because obviously the veterans that you guys are with Chronicles of the Unknown and the experience you had, you've pretty much experienced absolutely everything that has to deal with the paranormal, good or bad. So when you get these groups coming up to you saying, hey, you know, I would like to, I've started up my own group and I would like to have a few pointers or a few tips on what you guys do. And I know the attitude of you guys. You guys are all too willing to help. But what is the advice that you give and their reaction when you tell them you should bless yourself before going on location?
It's just a safety thing. Like you have to protect yourself. And whatever you believe in, you don't necessarily have to be Catholic or Buddhist or whatever else. As long as you believe in something that's going to protect you, that will protect you.
Okay, but what about if someone's atheist or agnostic?
That's entirely up to them. Like they don't believe in it. Yeah, exactly. Good luck is what we're basically saying. I'm not above people using their own theories or their own technology to investigate, and fair enough. If that's the way you want to go, then fair enough. But we tend to err on the side of caution with our group, so we use everything in our ability to protect ourselves.
And Derek, when you were going through this ceremony, could you take us through it on what you do with you guys to make sure that everyone is protected?
Well, I get all the guys. I always bring tobacco with me. And at first, there's two ways of doing it. We can smudge, go in, do a prayers, and then or we bring in tobacco. And so I bring tobacco, and all the guys will take a pinch of tobacco, and we face the four directions, and everyone is in the circle facing directions, and we actually ask for the prayer of protection, and that we don't become harmed, that we actually are well taken care of, and we actually are able to get. We ask for the presence of those that actually want to come forward and give us a message, and in a good way. And if we are being touched, and if things do happen, so be it. But at least when we place the tobacco in front of the building to the entrance, you're actually blessing the ground that you stand on before you walk in. And so you walk into, it's almost like creating a holy beginning of your life, of your walk in your journey. And so then you walk in, and then you do your thing. And then after the night is over, we smudge. We bring out the medicines, and we smudge everybody down completely, all the way from the top to the body, down the bottom of your feet, before we head back home. Because if you don't, you're going to sometimes have someone from the spirit world that we've already investigated follow you home. Someone's going to come and pay you a visit from the other location that we actually investigated. Then you wonder why these nasty dreams. And or sometimes if you don't do prayer protection, someone's going to get sick. So that's why we're always one step ahead of it. We have to be.
And that's important too, is not to forget about the end, because spirits can attach themselves. Like you said, spirits can come home and affect what is happening in your house. How do they attach themselves to you, Derek?
It's not the attachment. They just follow you. It's like a trail. You leave a vapor. You leave a vapor of your own, and they're connected to it, and they just follow you home. It's like, you ever had this feeling you walk down the street and you feel like someone walked right through you, and yet the person's not real? Yeah, actually, we were walking outside, you went, oh, and I felt like someone walked right through you. That's that feeling. That spirit walked right through you because he or she wanted to let you know they were there. And there's times, too, that I've driven down the road and I felt like I just drove through something with my vehicle, but there's nobody there physically. So those things can happen. We just don't realize it. We just have to try to be one step ahead of it.
I have seen a ghost car, not the police-type ghost cars. I was traveling on Highway 1 home one night from my daytime job, and it was fall, so it was dark quite early. And I was coming over a bridge, and it looked to me that there was about a 1984 type Chevrolet car right in front of me, and probably, I'm going to say, 25, 30 car lengths ahead of me. He went over the bridge, I'm following him, and he didn't have any lights on. And when I got over the bridge, he was gone. He was absolutely gone. And that was a holy crap moment for me. That's for sure. So I know what you're talking about when it comes to that, because I was like panting, like, where did this car go? Did it go off into the ditch? Because it didn't have any lights on, and there was nothing reflecting off of it, because cars do reflect. But there was nothing there.
And those type of cars that you see drive past you that look like a ghost car, that means that someone perished in a car accident, and they're letting you know that was actually in that location when they died.
That's what I figured.
You're the one supposed to know it, that it happened.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on for one final time here tonight. We're talking with Chronicles of the Unknown, Glenn Ferguson, Mike Morin, and Derek White Sky Cloud. They join us to talk a little paranormal chat and have some fun on the third Monday of every month. Their next time they'll be on the air will be Monday, June 20th. Yeah, already looking into June. Almost at that halfway point. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back after this break.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The last Monday of the month on Spaced Out Radio is a night of psychic vision, mediumship, UFO and ET contact, Bigfoot stories, animal communication, and so much more with me, Elizabeth Anglin. I'd love it if you would join host Dave Scott and I on the myriad of topics we delve into. Every month, we share new views that may help you understand your own experiences. So tune on in at spacedoutradio.com and stamp your cosmic passport.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. Welcome back for the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on this Monday night, kicking off a great week of guests on Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night on the show, Butch Witkowski will join us. We are going to be talking everything from alien abduction to werewolves and dogman in Pennsylvania and the surrounding areas. Some interesting stories indeed. That is tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio. Remember, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. We want to thank everyone listening in tonight on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, our Paranormal Forum friends, as well as on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers and Euphoria Chronicles. We appreciate all of you tuning in. Every third Monday of the month, we talk with the guys from Chronicles of the Unknown. Tonight we are joined by Derek White, Sky Cloud, Mike Morin, and Glenn Ferguson. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to have you with us.
Indeed.
We are here.
Yes, we are.
Well, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice?
Now, guys, you have been filming the Gold Rush Trail that leads all the way up to the Yukon Territory from the Washington state border. Glenn, I'll start with you on this one. Why did you choose the Gold Rush Trail?
It was a story that needed to be told. It was there, but no one really looked into it. Like, everyone knows about the California Gold Rush Trail back in the 1850s, but it continued on north for many years, well into the Yukon Territory and Alaska, and no one's really heard about that part of the story.
So what are you hoping to encapsulate with that?
To get the story out there. It's there. Like, if you look at all the paranormal groups right now that are on TV, none of them have really come up here and done any investigations other than Hell's Gate, which is a waste of time because there's no way you can actually capture any evidence there because of the contamination with the Russian water. So it's kind of like a catch-22, basically. No one's actually seen any of Canada.
Also, I mean, Glenn, I'm sure Glenn will take my word for it too. Being in BC, it's there's so much activity up here, and like he said, and following the Gold Rush Trail is actually quite significant or quite cool, because one thing I learned myself, and there's three of us Métis guys. There's Troy, Mike, and myself. We're Métis, and Glenn is our British officer and paranormal friend.
Token white guy.
Yeah, token white guy. So in the gold and during the Gold Rush time period, they're actually what you had the overlanders, and the overlanders came up from up east, all the way from the east coast of Nova Scotia, further New Brunswick, all the way down across Canada into here. Well, most of those people that were overlanders were actually called the Métis. They were pulling the Red River carts to come out here for the Gold Rush. and hundreds of thousands of them actually had hundreds of them actually had perished coming across. Took them over 3 months to get to Barkerville during that time. So there is a lot of history, and you see a lot. You may see the odd documentary, but it never really was about who actually perished, what really did happen. And I'm hearing more stories now of other people that were involved in many other types of execution cases, and there's hauntings of those areas, and not just Barkerville. There's even more further down that we haven't discovered, no one's even touched yet, and we're heading those directions.
It really is uncharted territory, as we mentioned earlier on the show, here in British Columbia when it comes to the hauntings. And the further you travel north, does it amaze you when you guys are driving up north or to the northeast or the eastern part of the province, and you come around these corners and all of a sudden there's like these ghost towns that seem to be absolutely everywhere and untouched? Derek.
That's true, that they are untouched, and if they are, it's if some of them, people may have stopped by and took pictures of them, but that's pretty well it, and that's only the daytime. But no one's ever really spent the night, and that's why we're there. And we'll see what it's like if there's actually anything there that actually was active.
Do you like that fact, Mike, that BC is so uncharted?
Absolutely, it's fantastic for us, and the places we are going over the next 4 months I can't wait to talk about them with you on a monthly basis. We just can't say the names of them right now.
I hear you. I know yet that there's a group following you guys, trying to copycat you guys, and we're just going to keep that at that. So we're going to keep that information a little bit private, which I don't really appreciate anybody doing. Do your own work. I'll say it, guys. Do your own work. Don't play the following game and try and claim it as your own. Do your own work.
Earn it.
Exactly. Bill Cardwell has a question for you, gentlemen, and Glenn, we'll start with you on this one. Have you ever had a spirit try to trick you or mislead you into thinking they were not harmful?
Yes.
Do we ever?
Simple question. Yes, we have been tricked into believing it was a child when it was actually a full-grown, malevolent male.
Yeah.
Explain that story, guys.
We were kind of tricked into it. We were messing around with Boo Buddy, who's a paranormal bear that we use occasionally on investigations. It's a trigger object. It reads EMF, temperature changes, and will interact with anything we have there. And we had that interact with a little girl. And apparently the little girl was not a little girl, it was a big guy.
So how did you make that transition that it wasn't a little girl and it was some dude who was trying to pose as a young lady?
We had a Class A EVP tell us to get the fuck out. Excuse my French. But it was definitely a full male, not a little child.
Mike, how about you? Have you ever had that situation run up where you've had a spirit try to trick you?
Sorry, I was on mute again. No. I'm gonna go with a no. I've had times where I think they will they'll alter when spirits enter Derek. When he gets, I say it's doing Derek things, like when he does the medium stuff.
Possessed.
I just didn't want to use that word.
When I get...
Yeah, I feel that they toy with me then, because they can see that I don't want to have the confrontation with an actual human. I'd rather have it with a spirit. And mark my words, there's going to be one day where Derek's going to take a swing at me.
Yeah, probably. Been close a few times.
I'll drop you.
How about yourself? Have you ever had a situation where you've had a spirit try to trick you?
Oh, yeah. There's a young guy that committed suicide. And he took me over and he wanted to see through my eyes. And he actually forced me to throw up. I was trying to get him out of me, and I had a hell of a time getting rid of him. And it took me when I got home, I had to get my wife to help me prepare the bath, and bring out the medicines and pour the medicines into the tub. And I was leaning down on my knees, and they soaked the tub full of water and the medicine. She kept calling over me, and she kept saying, "White Bear, help your brother." And so this being can get out of me. This person can get me. So, because people realize that these guys that are in spirit, they are trying to control you. They're trying to see if they can take over what they left off that they didn't finish. And so a lot of times their lives were tragic, and sometimes they will actually come back to the place where they once lived, and they try to control it. They try to be in control of that same location because that was their fondest places that they were able to scare people and keep them on their toes. So that's why we're there, to see if we can not confront it, but try to see if we can actually find a way to not to. We're not here as we're not. How do you say it? We're not here to rescue spirits. Our job is to actually make contact and see what did happen in the past, and that's why we're there.
I don't know about that. I think I can pretty much guarantee we like to rescue spirits as well.
Yeah, we did, but I'm trying not to say anything unless Glenn me. We did some spirits, but I was just at the time I was a paranormal team group that were located. I'm talking about us being all of us together. I'm not talking about where you and I are on locations, but mind you, we may have done so already. But I try not to do any rescue mediumship if it's not necessary.
Well, that brings up an interesting question then, Derek. What happens if a spirit comes to you or through you asking for help?
If they do, then I do help them. I do. Depends on the situation, where you're located, how that works out. We can help them cross over if they're asking for the help. If they're not asking for the help, no. They're most of the times we're always getting chased away. I'll give as an incident. For example, when Mike was with me at one of the locations, this ghost took me over, walked right through me, and scared the living hell out of him. Like basically, even no one would have handled it. And the ghost walked right through me from behind my back and right out of my face to scare the crap out of him. And he would that particular ghost was trying to tell us to get the hell out, and not to come back. That's how they try to do. They try to find a way to get you out of there by having to use other people to make it even more frightening.
I have a follow-up question for you guys from Bill Cardwell into the question you just answered for him. And Glenn, we'll start with you on this one. Is it possible that the ghosts are jealous that you are still in human form?
I believe they're attracted to your energy. It's not so much that you're in human form, it's the amount of energy that you put out. Everyone has an energy level, and even energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transform to a different field. So what happens to our energy when we die? Does it continue on, or do we just fizzle out?
Derek, do you believe that some of these spirits may be jealous that you're in human form and they're not?
Actually, they don't show jealousy. I think what they do is they see us there and thinking, they want to get close to you, and then they're trying to find every which way to get your attention. And if that person's so receptive and wanting to be willing to give them a hand, myself as a trance medium, I let them walk into my body to see what their message is. But I've never heard of a jealous spirit, and if there is one, it's more like one that's more mischievous.
Question from Claudia in regards to when there is bad spirits in the house. And Mike, we'll start with you on this one. If you can stop typing, I'm just giving you a little bit of a cheat shot. And don't forget to turn your mic on. How do you clear a house if you know there are bad spirits in the body? In the house. That's a question from Claudia.
We usually use our proton packs.
Yeah.
Or you actually do the dude run.
No, we're very big into smudging with sage, even if there is no bad. We do it either regardless. Like the last house we did was pretty intense. Derek had a sage mixture where he'll mix some sage. I don't know what that fungus is called that you use.
Wismiagan.
And a couple other little. He put some cedar. You put some sweetgrass, and you will cleanse the entire house, which usually does the trick to get rid of a bad spirit. Another thing we will use to seal the deal will be Palo Santo wood. And if that does not work, then Glenn will do his holy water and prayers. It always works.
And we go through about maybe 15, 20 prayers in a night with the client to get them comfortable with saying their prayers. And it does work. It cleans the place out.
Well, how does that work, though? I can understand it working for, say, an upset spirit, but is there any difference, Glenn, when it's, say, a poltergeist or something demonic?
Well, poltergeist is German for noisy ghost, basically. So something that's going to slam doors and do that kind of stuff. Well, we've come across a few over the years. They're not pleasant to deal with, and they generally don't stick around too long. There is what we class as a short-term haunting.
Glenn had a situation where one slammed the door when we were on one of our jobs. So, yeah.
But that's another reason where Glenn will do the prayers and the holy water, because that seems to deter poltergeist and more malevolent spirits. It's kind of like a 3-punch. The sage, Palo Santo, and Glenn's prayers.
All right. I have not come across a bad spirit yet. I came across a very unruly one when we did some construction on my former house. When we finished our basement, one of the spirits in there did not really appreciate that we took away a sliding door and put in a wall and a closed-off regular door. And it made life in one of my daughter's bedrooms a little bit uncomfortable. We got rid of it by calling in some happier, more pleasant spirits and giving them a blessing, as well as hanging garlic around to try and clear the area. And that seemed to work after about 2-3 days. Are there any types of what am I trying to say here? Are there any types of different aspects that, say, someone can use at their home if they're caught up with a spirit that's a little bit upset, Derek, and maybe they don't have time to get a hold of a paranormal group?
Say that again. I was actually in sorry, again, one frame?
Well, I had a spirit that was a little bit upset that we did some construction on our house.
Oh, yeah.
At our old residence.
Yeah.
There happened to be a couple of spirits in my house, including a First Nations gentleman who was very much liking the tobacco we were presenting to him. He said, "Don't worry about the guy in the other room, I'll take care of him." And we had garlic hanging and kind of surrounding the house with the garlic that was hanging from the ceiling. And that really took care of everything. If someone isn't prepared to, or doesn't know how to get in touch with a paranormal group, or doesn't trust a paranormal group, what advice could you give them in helping to deal with them themselves?
Well, everybody's different. I mean, everybody is an individual of their own to, especially if you're doing renovations in a house. And there are people that are crossed over that once owned that home, and if they're still attached. We actually had a situation with one Glenn and I went to. That was not too long ago, and we did a ceremony, and this guy who actually once owned the house, he was refusing to leave. He actually had fallen in the shower and passed away, but his ghost didn't like the idea of the house being colored. So he was voicing his opinion. He didn't like the color of the room and didn't like the change. until we explained to him, the guy that passed away, that that he's passed away and that the people are living there now. They have it. He just still didn't want to give it up. As far as he was concerned, that was his place. So you're trying to figure out a way how you can compromise with a ghost and the rest of the family. But also tell the family too that you have to tell that person who's passed away that this is your place and you have every right to be there, and that they're going to have to compromise or get out. And so most of the time, the spirits will compromise.
But Derek, do spirits have to follow certain rules and guidelines?
No. That's their only rules and guidelines if they're passed away. I mean, they're just people that passed away that once lived on this earth. They go through a life review. They learned everything that's all good and bad in life, and then they learn the things they've done. And then they just keep on. Either they make a decision to cross over to the light and become someone else, or they wait till it's time for them to be born again, or if they choose to stick around, they do. It depends on what they want to do, and it depends on each situation, whether he or she has had a religious belief. It depends.
It could also be fear-based as well. Like they're sticking around. Maybe they have a fear of crossing over, a fear of punishment or whatever, or recourse to whatever they've done in life.
Yeah, like I said, it's a religious belief that they're taught by some means, or by the church or congregation.
I have a question from Claudia in the SOR Space Travelers chat room on Facebook. When her aunt passed away, a few days later the phone rang, and the sound on the phone that came through was like the sound of a TV when it's off the air. But her brother and her could hear a voice in the distance trying to talk to them. Could that have been their aunt, Derek? Have you heard of ghosts trying to communicate by phone?
Wait, Derek. Can I answer? Sorry.
Yeah.
I was typing and answer that question literally right now. That happened to my aunt when my grandfather passed away. Apparently, the day he passed away, the phone kept ringing in their house, and my aunt said that she could hear his voice in the distance, like saying goodbye. So, yes.
My dad did the same thing to me when he passed away. The phone didn't ring, but I was coming into the office, and we have on the regular landline. It kept lighting up, but the phone was not ringing, and I'm thinking, well, why is it lighting up all the time? So I picked up the phone, and I can hear everybody talking, like a lot of people's voices if they're actually listening to a room full of people talking. But I haven't heard those voices, those people in years. And then I heard my dad's voice. I hear people saying, "Welcome home, Grant. Welcome home." And I thought, holy crap! I just am there to witness my father's that he passed away, and I knew at what time he passed away.
You know, I have two stories with that actually happened on Skype. The first time I was doing a recorded interview with Dr. Jamie Turndorf on her book that says Love Never Dies, and her husband Jean had passed away, but he has always communicated with her and stuck with her from the other side. And she said to me before the interview, she goes, "Don't be surprised if all of a sudden something happens to the phone line." So we finished up one of the segments, and all of a sudden the phone, as we were chatting in between segments, the phone line went crackly, and I could hear this type sound, and she could not hear it. I said to her, "Doctor, did you just hear that?" And she's like, "Hear what?" I said, "Well, there was crackling on the phone and then a man's voice that sounded very muffled in the background." And she starts laughing and she goes, "I told you Jean would come through. He always does on the phone line when I'm doing an interview and talking about him." She goes, "This is daily for me." And the other time was on Skype again. James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend, him and I were having a phone meeting in regards to how we were going to reset things up about a year ago. And I had to take a business phone call, and my dog happened to be in the studio. And you guys know Doug very well.
Yeah.
And
good dog.
I left the microphone on, and I walked out. I closed the door behind me, and I walked outside. And when I came back about 3-4 minutes later, James says, "Hey, Dave, was there someone else in the house?" I'm like, "No, it's just me and the dogs." He goes, that is weird. He goes, why didn't I hit record? I said, well, what did you hear? He goes, there was a man on the other end of the microphone coming through saying, you're such a good dog. Way to be a good dog. How are you doing today?
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Gentlemen, we only have about 2 minutes left of the Chronicles of the Unknown segment here on Spaced Out Radio. I know you're sad. I know Mike will be elated because he can start his typing and get his fingers moving.
I suddenly feel like Burnett.
But where is Chronicles of the Unknown heading next?
We're heading to the Bailey House.
Merritt, the Bailey House.
And that is for one of your charity events.
Yes, it is. That's the 22nd.
Are we still selling tickets, guys?
Yes, we are.
And how much are those?
It's limited ticket availability. We're trying to keep it small, so less contamination during the investigation, to give people a real experience rather than just bringing them out there and showing them our stuff.
And we will also be filming an episode.
Well, you know what? I wish I could join you, but my parents are coming up for a visit this weekend, and my dad's birthday is on the 22nd. My birthday is on the 24th, so we're celebrating it together as a family. But good luck, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to have you guys on the air with us.
Our pleasure.
Had a lot of fun.
Always. Chronicles of the Unknown, Glenn Ferguson, Mike Morin, and Derek White Sky Cloud joining us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Bumblefoot's playing. That means it's time to wrap things up here for a Monday night. Always a pleasure to have you guys on the phone with us on the Spaced Out Radio chat room, on Spreaker, Paranormal Forum, the SHR Media Network, and on Facebook, Euphoria Chronicles, and our main room, the SOR Space Travelers. Also want to mention that Chronicles of the Unknown / the Canadian Paranormal Society has signed up with another one of our guests from Washington State, Eric Cooper, and Forest Moon Paranormal. They're teaming up across the border. A lot more fun with it. So Eric, Mike, Glenn, Derek, have fun with that, because you guys will be staying in touch and getting to know each other on the paranormal side. It's absolutely great. Remember, tomorrow night on the show, Butch Witkowski will join us. We're going to talk everything from werewolves and Dogman to aliens and abduction. UFOcop.com is Butch's website. That's tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, for the first of 3 hours live. That's the way we do it, 7 days a week here on the mighty SOR. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. Give us a subscription on that one. Just click that little red button. And, of course, our website. We'd love for you to take people there. Show us what we're doing. SpacedOutRadio.com. I am your host, Dave Scott. I will be back with you in exactly 21 hours. We got the music master, the guitar god, the fretless wonder, Bumblefoot, taking us out. Good night.
This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you fall.